Hey y'all ready for part 5? All right, I know it's been a minute. First of all, I want to thank Kenny. Kenny, thank you so much for my video on my conversation with a serial killer and the animations and bringing it to life. I loved it, and I look forward to working with you in the future on my law firm videos. All right, so we're ready for part 5. All right, now I'm in the public defender's office. I just passed the bar in part 4. And I committed to work for them for 3 years. So let me tell you what a public defender is. A public defender is an attorney that's hired by the state to represent indigent clients in criminal matters. All right. So we're representing people who are poor or fall below the poverty line in criminal cases in the state of Florida. That's what we're doing. All right. So now this is my job. So when I actually started working, they had me shadow different jobs within the organization. So they had me shadow, like for one day I sat with all day the receptionist. I was able to see how the receptionist moves the flow, moves the traffic in the office, answers the telephone. I was able to see all of the stresses of her job. And I was just able to sit with her for a day and see what it took for her to do her job. And another day, I would be able to sit with a secretary all day and watch the same thing with the secretary, see the stressors of their jobs and how they flow and all of the things that come to them. I was able to sit, I believe, with a paralegal all day, one day. On another day, I was able to go and ride with an investigator to see what it takes for them to do an investigation. And it was really, really very effective because it allowed me to see how all of these moving parts work together and how I fit in because I'm going to be an attorney. So I'm able to see everybody's job is really, really effective. Okay, so that's what I did. So on the day that I sat with the secretary, one of the secretaries, it was in a general secretary area where a lot of secretaries were seated. And I sat with one. There was a young woman who approached. She was a lawyer. She was a young lawyer. And she had some papers in her hands. And she came to the area and she says, who's going to take this to the clerk of court's office for me? And like with a real attitude. And we were all just sitting there looking at her. I never met her, so she didn't know who I was. I was just shadowing. And we just looked at her. And then she said, who's going to take this to the clerk of court's office? If one of y'all don't volunteer, I'm picking somebody. And she had just like the nastiest attitude. And we were just looking at her. Me and all of these women were just sitting there looking at her. And then she turned around and said, it's going to be you, and handed the papers to me. You taking this down to the clerk of court's office. And I took the papers and all of the secretaries were looking at me. It's like all eyes came to me. They wanted to see how I was going to react to it because she doesn't know me. She doesn't know why I'm here. Maybe she just assumed I was a secretary in training. But I took the papers and I stood up. And then one of the secretaries told, she's a lawyer. She's not a secretary. And then the girl was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And she started to try to take the papers out of my hands. And I said, no, I wouldn't let her take them. I told her I'm going to take it to the clerk of court's office. And she kept, oh my God, I'm so sorry. No, one of them can take it. No one, I didn't know. She started doing all of that. Right. And I was like, no, I'm going to take it because I need to know where the clerk of court's office is. So I'm going to take it. She kept trying to take it from me and I wouldn't let her take it from me. And at that time, the public defender's office where I was working is actually inside of the courthouse. So the clerk of court's office was at another level and I wanted to see what the clerk of court's office was. So I went to the clerk of court's office. I did all of that. That lady, that lawyer, and she had only been a lawyer for about a year. But she spent the next 3 years while I was there bending over backwards, trying to make me happy based on that initial contact. Okay. So, and for me, I don't know, maybe she changed. I don't know. She never said she did, but there's nothing that she could do for me to make me happy because I was able to see what I was able to see. Now, you want to impress me, show me how you treat our indigent clients, right? But at that stage and the presentation and the way that she came like everybody was there to serve her. When we're all working together to serve the clients who may or may not be homeless. But she was acting like she was the one who was being served. And she was very prideful and very arrogant. And so there was nothing that she can do for me to change that, because she's going to treat me differently than she's treating everybody else. But that's a story that stood out for me, because we kind of got to check ourselves. Like, you know, we've accomplished some things and we've gotten some things. We really have to check ourselves. And for me, I was looking at her like, babe, I know that piece of paper don't have you feeling like that. That's how it has you feeling? Piece of paper being that law degree. That's how that piece of paper got you feeling? Here's the message for this video. How does that piece of paper have you feeling? Have you accomplished some things and gotten some type of reward for it, and it has you feeling like you're superior to someone else? What's your piece of paper? If you have one, is your piece of paper your college degrees? Are you looking at other people who don't have college degrees as though they're less than? Is your piece of paper a deed to your house? Were you able to get that nice house that you always wanted, and you go in somebody else's house who don't have such a, you know, a nice house, and you looking at them crazy? Is that your piece of paper, or is it your cash? Have you been able to make a lot of money, and now you looking at people who don't make as much as though they're not as good as you? What's your piece of paper, and does your paper have you feeling like that? Is it the title to your car? Did you get that car that you've always dreamed of? And when you see someone pull up next to you and they have a dent in their car, you looking at them like, how you looking? What's your piece of paper? Is it the receipts from that Louis Vuitton bag that you just bought? You walking around with your Louis bag. You see somebody who has a Coach bag, how you feeling? Does it have you thinking that you're superior? Now, there's nothing wrong with having good things and nice things, and we work hard for it, but does it have you feeling like you're better than someone else? Is your piece of paper your business license? You got a nice business, you got a good thing going, and so you feel like you're superior because you don't have to clock in and clock out? I mean, does a piece of paper have you feeling some kind of way? Is the piece of paper your marriage license? Did you marry a baller? Marry somebody that got a lot of money and now it make you feel like you better than somebody else? I mean, I don't know what the piece of paper is, but we just need to be humble. Jesus was a carpenter. We all know he came in on a donkey. Why are we acting so inflated with these inflated egos like we, you know, we're better than somebody else? So listen, the purpose of this video is that we need to be humble as a result of that experience. Well, we all know the real riches aren't here anyway, right? We need to treat people right. As a result of that experience, to this day, when I meet people, I don't tell them I'm an attorney. I don't, because I want to see who I'm really dealing with. I don't care what the reaction is. You know, my name is Natasha. What's your name? Melissa? Hey, Melissa. I just want to know Melissa. I don't care about the titles. I don't care about any of that. We get to know each other, and then we realize that there's a way that I could serve you, or there's a way that you can serve me based on what we do for a living, and that's all great. It's all wonderful. But when you meet me, I'm Natasha, because the title doesn't matter. And I continue to roll with that to this day. So let's be humble and check yourself. Make sure your paper don't have you feeling some type of way. All right, so in part 6, I'm going to bring you into the courtroom. I'll talk to y'all later.